at Money in the Bank, we will see these two square off once again after their first encounter ended with Kevin Owens walking away as the victor. His very first match on the main roster of WWE beat the face that runs the place, as Cena likes to call himself.
I'm in the camp where I know it's going to be a good match, and that's fine, but I would have loved to see this get a little bit more time to, like, culminate and just keep moving it around, have Kevin Owens be a little bit more brash now that he's beaten John Cena once. I think this is where that 2 weeks of build kind of hurts it, because it feels like I literally just got the last match, and that's the problem for me. And it's kind of why I wish this whole thing was kind of a little bit more of a long, drawn-out process. So to see him come right back to the well so soon, like, I have no doubts I'm going to come out of the match. It might not be as good, but shit, it can still be a good match without being as good as the last one, and that's fine.
The way that I look at it, they really changed up the game with this match. It's not your usual rematch because I believe last week on Monday Night Raw, wasn't Kevin Owens the first one to come out? Like, I think he addressed the WWE Universe before John Cena did. Yeah. Yeah, the way that I look at it, it's kind of weird how the format of a rematch has shifted because, of course, I'm sure John Cena wants this rematch, but the interesting thing about this one is you had Kevin Owens out there demanding a rematch. So it became less about Kevin Owens just defeating John Cena and more about Kevin Owens ending John Cena. And I think the way that they worked Kevin Owens' son into the mix and that whole story that he told about him going home and his son asking if John Cena is okay, that kind of enraged Kevin. And he was like, you know what? Beating this guy isn't going to be enough. I have to go in there and I have to end the empire that is known as John Cena. So when you flip the dynamic in that way where the winner of the match wants the rematch, I think that it kind of changes things. And that's why I'm okay with the 2-week build, because with the story that WWE has laid out in this very short time, I'm like, that's a damn good story and not something that you see too often.
See, my biggest problem with that, though, is I like the concept, but while we're looking at it as Kevin Owens, it's also John Cena. And when we have John Cena losing clean, I feel like John Cena should be clawing and scratching to get that rematch. And for him to not be clawing and scratching right now and just doing everything, and for Kevin Owens to be the one to demand it, while the story that they told was good, and actually it's probably the best thing going into Money in the Bank right now.
And
I just don't know.
That's not difficult, to be quite honest. But
no.
they're still good, but yeah, like...
I think that, like, the big thing that we're looking at there is, like, would you have rather seen the storyline of John Cena being beaten clean and wanting that rematch against Kevin Owens? Or are we all right just getting what we got with Kevin Owens being the one who wanted the rematch because he wants his son to understand?
See, that is pretty interesting, and that was my initial thought. Like, when they announced the rematch before Elimination Chamber even went off air, I was like, huh, that's kind of weird. Like, don't you want to see some kind of change in John Cena? This is something that we've been craving for years. When something important happens to John Cena, we see that shift in his personality. Something changes about him, but it's kind of interesting where WWE didn't go that route, and this is one of, if not the only time where I'm actually okay with it. And I think that based off of what happens on Sunday, they do have the opportunity to tell the kind of story that you want them to tell, and I want them to tell with the changing of John Cena, because I'm just going to go ahead and say it. John Cena needs to get his ass whooped again.
Absolutely.
Yes. I can't see any other way that this match could possibly end other than Kevin Owens winning.
And I think, like, that whole concept of, like, oh, well, to have a feud, if you have the heel go over, the babyface needs to get his win back. No, fuck he doesn't.
Fuck that even Stevens BS. We don't need that. Because it's very interesting. I believe it was JR. He wrote in his blog on jrsbarbecue.com, he said that Kevin Owens isn't over yet, and I know that sounds weird because he goes out to the ring and you hear the response that he gets from the crowd, and it seems as if a whole hell of a lot of people like him. But here's the thing: people like Duke and I, people like a lot of the people who are watching this show right now, we know Kevin Owens, we know Kevin Steen, but the WWE Universe as a whole, they're still getting to know him. And I'm going to use the term established. I don't think he's established enough on the main roster in WWE for him to absorb a loss from John Cena and everything to be A-okay. Like, he needs to drive the point home even further than he did at Elimination Chamber and go in Money in the Bank and beat the brakes off of John Cena.
Yes, see, I think this is a feud that could benefit from Kevin Owens whipping John Cena's ass for a prolonged period of time. I think this is one of those things where once you put the U.S. title in it, whenever that point's going to be, and you can kind of see the writing on the wall, I almost think it's going to be one of those things where maybe this is the way you unify the belts, by having Kevin Owens not give a shit about the U.S. belt and just tossing it in the fucking garbage.
It just disappears.
But I think that, like, eventually once you get there, at least they have to give Cena his rematch before he can do that. So I think this is one of those things where you can have this story go a while. And it's not a bad thing, because these guys aren't touching too much on TV. They're like keeping them mostly into talking segments, which is refreshing. So to see like them go into this well, I think that SummerSlam would be about the right time for John Cena to get his win, if he's going to get a win in the feud.
Yeah, and like I said last week, this thing has some legs, because we could have looked at it early on and said this is just going to be like a one-off thing, give Kevin Owens a few dates on the main roster, and he goes back to doing his thing in NXT. But he's doing his thing in NXT, he's doing the thing on the main roster. He's in like 15 different feuds right now, and I love every single one of them. And this one with John Cena, I really want to see this thing continue, and I'm hoping that WWE makes the right decision and John Cena takes another loss this Sunday. Whatever way you want to book it, go ahead, do so. But he needs to lose this Sunday.
See, this is also another one of those scenarios where you could have put him in the Money in the Bank and just had it like where both of them are there, and then maybe neither one wins. Maybe you have Kevin Owens win, but you put them both in Money in the Bank. Then you make Money in the Bank seem more important because there's a feud going in there, and we've got some more established people in like the Money in the Bank as well, and it gives him a chance to say, hey, Kevin Owens is just as important as Roman Reigns and Sheamus and Randy Orton. This is how seriously you should be taking this dude. Plus, we just didn't have to see the match 2 weeks after we saw the last one.